June 2nd, talk to a plant for an hour a day. This is the plant. I bought you at Ikea, I think. You seem nice. You have white dots on your leaves. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but they haven't gone anywhere or gotten bigger, so that's pretty good. I water you, and we're here in Portugal. There are many other plants besides you. I don't want to make them jealous by talking to you, but I think it'll be okay. And yeah, I have to figure out what to talk to you about for an hour. Part of me thinks the best thing to do is treat it like a therapy session, I guess. But I don't really trust you yet in that way. So I'll just tell you, I'm having a lot of ideas recently, but I feel overwhelmed by the number of them, and it's hard to start diving into one. So I was thinking today in my morning pages that rather than feel like I have to take them all on, there's a good first step for all of them, which is to like make a one-pager version of them that answers the core questions, and then maybe make a pitch deck or something. So it would be like, if I decided to pursue it and it needed an investor, for example, then I would know what to go out and ask that investor for. Or if it requires something of me, I'll have sort of a better lay of the land. I can almost self-pitch. I can be like, this idea, once laid out like this, what are the flaws in it? I guess I could also get more feedback on them that way. My oatmeal game has been really upped recently. I don't go sweet anymore, but I guess I don't go savory. I go sour. So I do a lot of yogurt, and then I do peanut butter. I guess that's a little sweet, but mostly salty. I guess I don't know if peanut butter is considered sweet or savory. It shows up really well with sweet things, and it feels like it's sweet when you're eating it. But I guess it's in a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, its job is to be the savory. Same as peanut butter and Nutella, or a peanut butter cup. In all of those cases, peanut butter is occupying the savory space, right? It's the salty balance to the sweet. This version has blueberries in it and walnuts in it. I guess my point in doing this book again, this book will change your life, which I did 20 years ago when it first came out, is that it actually changed my life 20 years ago. And now that my kids are getting older, 14 and 12, and I have all this creativity, but it feels aimless. Do you ever feel aimless? It feels aimless. So I'm trying to discover where is the crossover between the creativity within me and my service to the universe or God. That's part of the artist way. I get into these books, so I did the artist way, and it was like, here's how you think about creativity, and it's wonderful, and it reinvigorates your creative self, and it does it in a very spiritual language. It's like very much like you are what does it say? Like creativity is God's gift to you, and your creations are your gifts back to God. So it's like very, and I was not much of a God person for a long time. I'm not sure if I am now. But really the idea of it being that like you're getting it from a source that's beyond you, and you're giving it back to a source that's beyond you. And part of my personal mental block from all of this is that having sort of created a career out of creativity that got more and more serious, I was less and less able to throw absolute shit at the wall and see what would stick. And that is missing. And so I think part of this was, I'm just going to take an external source that I know will give me things to do and just make those things, because the muscle that I'm trying to build is not it's not a muscle about filmmaking, and it's not a muscle about writing, and it's not a muscle about comedy. It's like none of those things anymore. It is the muscle to throw absolute garbage out into the ether and not care about what happens then. But like the muscle to detach from my creations so that I can just make things. Because you can't really do that in your personal life very often, especially when creativity is your work. Like, you're judged on your work. Or there's like financial things that come back as a result of your work, and you have kids to raise, and you have a retirement to think of, and you have a roof to keep over your head and everything. All that. I guess that's the freedom of the early 20s. And I'm sure people have written about that like the purpose of that time is to make more mistakes because the mistakes don't cost you very much, right? Like, that's the point of the time to take risks. There was somebody I was listening to, some podcaster. Can I take a bite? Some podcaster who was talking about who he invests in when he's like investing in a startup company. And he either wants like young single people, or people who are going through a divorce, or people whose kids are out of the house. So there's like statistics that show that the majority of startups, I think, are formed by people who are either very early in their career or like, you know, later in their 40s and stuff. It's really hard when you have 2- and 4-year-old who are relying on you to take a risk. I get that. That's certainly my experience. You know, what's probably the answer is reconfiguring what feels like a risk to you. Like, for example, like coming to be in Portugal as a foreign country, I'm sure there's ways to think about it as a risk. And I'm sure many people who think about making a move across the globe think about it as a risk and do a like risk-reward calculation. But there's something, I think, what made it easier? Because it didn't feel like a risk. It felt like a arbitrage opportunity. That's what I'm trying to say. It was like an arbitrage opportunity. And I was like, oh, if I'm working remotely, there's this arbitrage opportunity to have a better life, pay less money for it, or pay the same amount of money but enjoy more of a better life. So if you could just take every risk and turn it, like mentally, if you could just turn everything that you think of as a risk into an arbitrage opportunity, or like separate out your risks and be like, oh, these are the ones where there's like a real opportunity here that somebody's missing. And yes, it could look like a risk personally, right? That's the thing. Like, let's say, right, I can't think of an example. It's a risk personally to get up on stage and do stand-up, but there is a market for people who want stand-up about X subject, and there's nobody who's feeding that market, right? That's the Tyler Perry model, isn't it? Tyler Perry was like, there is a market for stories starring black people about black things, and nobody's feeding it, and Hollywood's wasted that. So while maybe it's a personal risk to take his creative approach to making his first movie, it's 100% an arbitrage opportunity because there was a lot of money being left on the table by not creating for all different audiences. So how do you approach everything as an arbitrage opportunity? Also, probably I'm too attached to that word because I learned it in my 40s and I'm like, oh, this is a good word. Nobody ever taught me that word. My wife says that I eat really loudly. So maybe this is the perfect thing for me to test out, not caring what a video looks like, is to actually eat on camera. My buddy Nadiv said, anybody who sees me eat will never marry me. He said that back when I was like 15, and I don't think I've gotten better at eating since then, but I think I found a more patient wife. Also, she says I eat very loudly. That the way I hit the plate with the spoon is loud, which is legit. Once I started listening for it, I really heard it. My dog is at my feet right now, and she's cozy. Oh, by the way, no offense, you're one of 3 nearly identical plants in this house. So I know that the studies say speaking to a plant will actually help it grow better. So I guess this is like a little experiment we're running. We're going to see if you have a different outcome than the other two plants, although you're generally kept in different rooms, so it's not really a perfect A/B experiment. I'm going to name plants to you now. I'm going to name trees. Apple, peach, nectarine, tangerine, orange, lemon, lime. I'm going to guess a pomegranate grows from a tree. I'm going to say banana, even though maybe it grows from a bush, because I know it's more closely related to a berry. But I'm still going to say banana. Palm tree, I don't know. Is a coconut palm and a date palm and like a regular palm tree, are they all different? They might be. Because I know I've heard date palm as like a thing. That's got to be about 12. Carob tree, cherry tree, pear tree. Oh, but then you could get into like different pears, couldn't you? Like, is a Bartlett pear different than a, what's the other kind of pear? D'Anjou. That probably counts as 2. But I feel like an apple tree, like I know there's like Honeycrisp apple tree and Pink Lady apple tree and Empire and all that, but what I've heard is that there's no such, you can't like grow an apple tree from seed, but you like have to graft it onto something. And when we bought those trees from that, you know, like fastgrowingtrees.com, some of them, yeah, they would sell like a 4-in-1 apple tree where there would be like a root stock and then 4 different apple trees grafted onto it. So the same tree could produce Granny Smith and Fuji and Honeycrisp or whatever. But it makes me think that there's like, kind of makes you feel like you want to call it one apple tree with just a bunch of variations, and I don't know if that's fair. It's certainly not fair with grapes. With grape trees, I mean grapevines, I know they're like distinct varieties, and there's like whole industries based on the distinctness of the varieties. I guess there's the same with apple trees. I guess you get to count them all. Blueberries. That's not a tree, that's a bush. Yeah, all the berries. Blueberries, raspberries, raspberries. What's that one? What's the invasive one? White mulberry. Then there's nuts, almonds, walnut tree, hazelnut tree, Brazil nut. It looks like a legume, but I bet it's still a nut. Brazil nut. And I don't think peanut grows from a tree, but I have literally no idea what it looks like where a peanut grows. I've never seen it in my life, but I know it's a legume. What else would it be? What are other trees? Pecans. What's another nut? Cashew? Cashew, I guess. And pistachio. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good list. And then what are the trees we got? We got Douglas fir. What's that Norwegian one they use for Christmas? It's probably called a Norwegian fir. Is a rubber plant a tree? Maple syrup comes from a tree, so there's sugar maples, and then there's silver maples. I can think of my Lord of the Rings trees. There's ash and oak. There's walnut and black walnut, and English walnut. I am trying to figure out how to talk to you for an hour, and I'm kind of running out of things. It's been only 15 minutes so far. So, what else can I tell you? Let me go spit this out. That's a walnut shell. Oh, it was a walnut shell. I got this mic plugged in. It says the battery's still full, so we hope that's still working. I guess you get a walnut shell every once in a while. Let's try it as a metaphor. Life is like a bowl of oatmeal because you occasionally get a walnut shell, but most of the time it's pretty good. Olives. I didn't go through the stone fruits yet, did I? Avocado, olives, peach, plum. What's another stone fruit? That's a bird. I think that's a mourning dove. You're not going to be able to hear it on the microphone, but there's an app that Morty just downloaded called the Merlin app. It's pretty amazing, and you can record bird calls. And it'll tell you which bird you're listening to. I've got a lot of travel coming up this summer. I guess I can tell you about that. I'm going to go to Chicago and northern Wisconsin, Ohio, LA, Ojai, which is like LA, but you know what it is. It's really more like Yellow Springs meets Los Angeles. It's like the hippie vibes where they'll try to sell you a wand made out of crystal that cures everything, but also, I'm guessing wine costs $20 a glass. And then I'm going to get to take the family to New York for the first time, which I'm very excited about. You will never see New York. But that's okay, because you are a plant. I wonder if this would be easier if I put eyeballs on you. Like if this was like a Wilson and Castaway thing. I can't tell if this is being heard or not. I did think of a character one time, and I thought that character, like a really funny character for a sketch or a movie. I guess a movie character, side character, is one who just is constantly fondling plants. Just like this, but he's not talking to the plants or anything. He's having a regular conversation, but you just see his right hand drift off to the plant next to him, and he just starts petting it. I think that's a hilarious character. I've been trying to be better about my suntan lotion usage. Why? Because I'm starting to get some reaction to the sun. I'm sure that has to do with age. I feel like I should have brought my book out to read to you, because then I could have at least been reading some of my Dan Brown book. I'm rereading Angels and Demons, by the way. Do I think it's amazing? No. But it is fast to turn the pages on. And somehow when the weather turns nice and you start getting in the pool, you just want something that's like, what is it? I guess if life is oatmeal, a Dan Brown book is like milk chocolate chips. Oh no, it's like Hagenschlag. It's like those Dutch chocolate sprinkles. They kind of taste good. They don't give you any nutritional value, and they're really quick. and they disappear fast, but there's plenty of them, and you can just litter them all over your oatmeal. That's pretty good. I did finish Hyperion. I loved that, and I have to get the follow-up book, but it's hard to get English language books here in Portugal without having to wait for a very long time. So that's okay. That is okay. I saw my first flamingo live flock of flamingos. They were very far away, but we had binoculars. So I used those, and I was able to see the flamingo, and I liked it. They were pink and they had big wings, and it was interesting, and I've wanted to see them all my life. I've seen them at zoos, and I think in a zoo they're pretty amazing because you see them all like hanging out as a flock, and they all turn their heads at the same time, and they look very silly, and they also look beautiful. So I think there's a nice combo there. So yeah, that was one of those animals. There was a guy I saw when I was like 18, 17 in a Waffle House. And I remember him saying, basically, he was like, when you are deciding on how you travel, he was just some random guy who was talking to a couple of us there, as you do at a Waffle House in the 90s. And he was like, the key when you're traveling is to like pick a thing you're interested in, and then you go see that thing. So if you like castles, you go see castles. If you like animals in their natural habitat, you go see that. I mean, he didn't mention that one, but that was the one that I was like, oh, I like that one. I like seeing animals in their natural habitat. I love seeing an animal in a zoo, and I hate it because you get this sensation where you're like the flamingos, for example. We saw the flamingos in the wild on our walk. We're like, this is amazing. And we stayed there for 20 minutes, even though we could barely see them, looking through the binoculars just to see what they were doing. Meantime, if you see a flamingo at a zoo, you see the flock of flamingos, and you're like, okay, cool. And then you go on, you're like, somebody's like, I want to see the lions. And you're like, okay. So that was like a thought. Anyway, the guy's idea was you pick a thing. Maybe you're into scuba. Maybe you're into shipwrecks. Maybe you're into vineyards or cheese. And you like make your life carving around the world because the world's too big otherwise. And I thought at the time, I was like, oh, that's so brilliant. And then I realized it's absolutely stupid. Because what if cheese is not that interesting to you? What if it's like fun to see a little bit about cheese, but you don't want to like structure your life around cheese tasting? I guess his point was that there's like, I know there's like some version of this where to understand the universe, you can either go really wide and try to understand a little bit about as much as possible. That's like the Jeopardy model, right? Or you can go really deep and try to understand as much as you can about like one thing. I guess that's the Nobel Prize winner model. I don't know what I think is right. I guess the answer is they're both right. They both give you access to a different, right? If you're looking at The Alchemist or something, everything in the universe contains the whole story of the universe within it. So if that's true, then you can totally just focus on cheese forever. Learn everything there is to know about cheese. I mean, this is right. It's kind of the plot of Fever Pitch by Nick Hornsby, isn't it? Is he realizes that his relationship with football, and with, I think, Arsenal specifically, is such that it shows up in every conversation he's having as a metaphor to something else. Even if it's totally irrelevant. That's his framework for everything. But the point is, he knows enough about a thing that you can start to see all the other stories of life in that thing. Because there's, I guess, only so many stories. So that is a thought. I am currently reading Fever Pitch. I'm maybe a couple chapters in. I am rereading Angels and Demons. I'm probably 150 pages into that. I'm reading Maniac, which is this Johnny von Neumann. I don't even know how you pronounce his name. And I honestly don't know if any of it's real, except I asked Morty, is Johnny von Neumann real? And he was like, yeah, he wrote this book of blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, so he's real. But I can't tell if any of the book is real or fake or what. So I guess that's an interesting version of a book. Anyway, it's called Maniac. I am enjoying it, but I'm in sort of the Dark Night of the Soul, post middle of Act 2 section, and it's kind of slowed me down. I guess that's why I picked up the Angels and Demons. Although, it's kind of interesting to be reading, because the plot of Angels and Demons is all about sort of physics meets God. And Maniac is a book about physics. I have this idea for a college. My idea was based on exactly what I'm saying, which is that like sometimes when you learn about things that seem totally disparate. This is that how do you peer into the universe thing. When you learn about things that are totally disparate, you actually open up a new sort of portal to understanding more about the universe by forcing things that don't seem to exist to be like juxtaposed in your mind. I remember this, there was like a semester I did in college where I was simultaneously studying, I was taking a class in philosophy and film, in German existentialist literature, in the history of pandemics, and in, I think it was like Sociology 101 or something. And it just, for that whole semester, you have this very distinct, I will say not very uplifting, but very distinct worldview. And there is something about that, like, if the purpose of college is the shifting of a worldview, that you don't actually do it by teaching a bunch of 100-level courses. You do it by teaching the specifics so you can go deep enough on enough things. That's the thing of that. Like, you can't learn the surface of everything and have it mean anything. You have to have some depth. That's my experience anyway. Is it like, when I'm talking about like the Jeopardy thing, like you actually can't do well on Jeopardy if you learn just a little bit about a million things. Like you can only get so far on the Pavlovs, as they call them. I think you actually have to be curious and interested in enough different things that you can like know enough about pop music and know enough about ballet and know enough about, you know, pandemics and know enough about soccer. Like you have to show some actual interest, and you don't have to be a soccer obsessive, but yeah, that's how you. I think there's something there. Anyway, I was thinking of that as a college idea, where you would like, God, I even wrote this somewhere. Where did I put this? But it was like, imagine a college where instead of having all this free choice, you like get assigned a semester. Like, this is what you're learning in this semester. And it contains really specific things, you know, like no matter what you want to major in, you're taking this course in microeconomics and in the history of, you know, New York's fabric industry, and in, I don't know, nautical navigation, or what do you call it? Nautical cartography. And I don't know what the answer is, but I know that there's a place where if you put those three things in your brain, there's like a new fourth thing that will emerge that helps you make sense of them all, because the human mind is like a sense-making machine. And if that's what it's trying to do all the time, then it's your job just to throw a bunch of other random shit in it. I guess in some ways that's part of this book too, isn't it? It's just like throw a bunch of random shit at your brain as an opportunity to generate new creation. I am into our pool. This is the first time in life I've had a pool. I really like it. And I spent a lot of time in it, looking out at that view. And it's very nice, so I'm grateful for that. What else am I grateful for? I am grateful for the occasional self-control to put my phone down, and I wish I could have more of that. That is a thing I'm trying to practice right now. I know Aziz Ansari said he uses a flip phone for things, and that's cool. That is cool. I like the idea of it. But my phone is basically it's my banking. And so the idea of not having access to a bank when I have to do stuff seems tricky. I mean, it's a very digital payment-centric world out here. I guess the answer is there's like a phone where you can... What I realize is that, what's the worst parts of the phone for me? Let me think. Google. I think I could get rid of a lot of that and just use an AI like Claude now, and I could just stop Googling things. News is pretty bad for me. Makes you feel like you're being informed and you aren't. I would not want to give up Google flight searches. Although I was thinking about this and I was like, I'm pretty loyal to United this year to test it out and see if it will successfully, like if a dedication to United serves enough of my destinations at a high enough quality that I can just be done with Delta and American, which was fucking garbage. The mileage earning on American was infuriating. But I like Delta a lot, especially since I won those Delta contests. And I like feel a loyalty to Delta. I was talking to somebody else about this. Like I have weird brand loyalty to some brands, but it's born out of these contests I won, which is so different than like, oh, I really like their design. I'm like, no, I like Delta. They flew me to 4 countries, just all expense paid. That's like Klondike bar paid off my debts. Like that's an amazing relationship with a Klondike bar, even if honestly I don't love to eat them. Man, talk about the Hagenschlag of the life is a Klondike bar, isn't it? I don't even know what it is in there. It can't be ice cream. It eats too fast. But that chocolate candy shell is so good. And yeah, they really gave me a lot. I feel brand loyalty to Volvo, even though I should feel brand loyalty to Audible for winning that car. But the car was a Volvo, and man, what a dream. I think I got to get another Volvo. But I am a little nervous about buying an electric car. Because, why, Joel? Because I am... I guess unsure of the range anxiety thing. I guess that's dumb. I don't really have that problem with gas. And I can't plug gas in anywhere that I am. I guess you can take a can of gas, but I've never literally done that in my life. I do not know what I'm supposed to do about this hour talking to you when I have to go to the bathroom, which is coming up in 4 to 12 minutes. So I got to figure that out. 33 minutes so far, so we are making good progress. I'm going to move the plant up here because maybe you want a better look at it. I guess if I do this in fast motion, you could actually see this like stream of light moving across time. You can't because you don't have eyes. You're just an Ikea plant, but you're a very nice one. Your name is Crassula ovata, unless that's the name of the container, which would also make sense because it is an Ikea style name. So malls have these things called anchor stores. And when I was growing up, the anchor stores were Elder Beerman, J.C. Penney, later stuff like Macy's. I think there was a period where Reich's was one. I can't remember them all. But at the mall here, maybe my favorite thing about the mall here is that their anchor store is Ikea. So like, there's an Ikea, and then there's like an excellent mall attached to it. And there's just so many times you can give yourself a reason to go into Ikea when it is at the mall. Just like seat cushions or an extra plant. It's really nice. So I like that. What other, let me see how many of the stores I can name at the mall. Let me see if I can do it as a memory palace. Okay. I'm walking into the entrance. to my left is Starbucks. The next store in is that candle shop, candles and smells. I don't know what they call it. The next one is a very big Primark. That goes pretty long. The next one, oh, I know I'm missing one, but there's a Note, which sells the notebooks and pens. Then after that, I think there's a watch, or no, it's glasses, because Randy got ripped off by the glasses guy there. Then there's a Pingo Dos. Then there's a Wharton. Then there is the oh gosh, I guess the next thing is the clinic on the left, because there's a full doctor's office there. Then if you keep going, and now I've reached the next entrance, so I have to turn around and do the left from the other side. There's the pharmacy. There's the pet store. There is the travel agency. Wait, no, the pharmacy, the pet store. I think there's like a cologne store there, or like it could just be watch cases, phone cases. The pet, then the travel agency. Then there's a fragrancy store, but I think it's got like conditioner and shampoo. Then there is can't remember. But in that same area is that cafe and the Mr. Blue, who always has that nice looking clothes, but none of them fit me. And then, oh yeah, there's like, that's where the big fragrance store is, with pictures of Zendaya. She's on like every fragrance store in the world that I've been to recently. Yeah, in every airport there's a Zendaya picture, which is good for her. That is pretty good. Nobody ever said this had to be a solid hour. I really would like to break it up and go to the bathroom, but I don't think I can do that. Only got 22 minutes left to go. What else can I tell you? Let's talk about the food court. What's your favorite thing to see in a food court? I like a Pokeball, and I like a KFC, but I never eat the KFC. They have a Talio burger, which is mediocre. They have a Baja Fresh, which is fine. They have a sushi place. Of the Portuguese places, they have the one that's like the scoopable Portuguese, which always looks like it's been left out for a very long time. They have the Bifanas place. I love Portuguese food. I do not understand Bifanas for the life of me. It seems to just be a piece of meat on a roll. Even in the pictures, it doesn't have sauce. It's like a flat piece of meat. Meanwhile, the steaks are great, and the chicken is great, and the sardines, all the dorada and the robalo are all great. But I don't get the Bifanas. You don't have to worry about that, because you do not have a mouth. You do not have a mouth to eat. You eat sunshine. And that is nice, except you're inside where you don't really get sunshine, but I guess you're happy. I am going to go ahead and take these dead leaves from your bottom off, because you don't need those anymore. I guess this is what happens when you stare at a plant long enough. You give it a haircut, and that's nice for you. Clean you up a little bit. Maybe that's part of the point. Maybe you don't actually make a plant healthier by talking to it, but just by staring at it for this long, you have to do something to... You find yourself tending to it because you think of it as another being in a more serious way instead of a more casual way. I am glad I've never been a vegetarian because I like meat. And I think when I was practicing for Wheel of Fortune, I actually tried testing different meals to see which ones would help me be the best thinker And I was doing it at home and watching the shows and doing it. And what I found was the best was meat. Burgers specifically. So when I was living in Culver City, I went to a place called Ford Filling Station. Oh, we're getting a phone call. 40 minutes deep and I'm getting a phone call. Oh, who's it going to be? Shit, it could be important. I'll try it on my... No, I don't want to answer it. I'll get to it in 20 minutes. What could it be? Doctor's results? Anyway, I've got almost all your leaves cleaned. See? Ikea. You are from Ikea. You're a nice little plant. I wonder if this guy's supposed to keep growing. Let me get rid of that. You have... Should I aerate you? Ooh, you're really strong roots there. I'm going to aerate you with my oatmeal spoon. I like those aeration shoes with the spikes on them, and I wish I had some of those. But I also wish I had a place of green grass to walk around where they would be useful, because they are not useful here. And I actually, it's not like a grass place. Grass would seem very weird here. I hope this isn't hurting you. I actually hope this is nice for you. I think it's a thing. And then I'll feed you some water after. That's good. That's good. Take a few leaves that you aren't using off. You're doing great. What if you opened, this is not, I got it. A barbershop for your plants. See, this is a thing that needs a one-pager. A barbershop for your plants. So you bring the plant in and it gets pampered and it gets spritzed and people talk to it about how it's doing, and it gets its leaves trimmed and it gets watered and it feels great. Fun idea. No one is ever going to pay to bring their plants in to do that. So if I had that as a one-pager, I would be able to instantly see that that's a terrible idea, and then I would leave it. Or I guess I could make it. Talk to a plant for an hour. Well, what else we got going on? The world exists, and I think it'll be fine. I think everything's going great. I think Americans are really stressed right now when I talk to my friends in America, and maybe I'll experience it myself when I go there, although I think my summer will be pretty pleasant. I guess I'm in a pretty good place emotionally, so I think the thing is the taking of yourself seriously. I think right now I don't trust anybody who takes themselves too seriously. Anybody who thinks that they're on like a righteousness crusade to save everything is probably the person who is least equipped to save everything. John Cleese, there was this clip of John Cleese going around from the 80s, which was really lovely, about the sort of joy of how you feel when you are an extremist. The assuredness and righteousness, and that's what people are going for. There certainly seems to be a lot of that on the news. But I wonder if that's real. I think it's probably not. I think that's when I talk to people who are stressed. I think it's mostly my friends on the left who are like, think that every single thing that comes up is something they have to respond to with righteousness. And you're like, oh, you can also just go live your life and hang out with your kids and be friends with your neighbors and, contribute to your church or whatever it is. Those things will also make you probably happier, and also you have more power over them because you're powerless in the world. I mean, I don't have to tell you that. You exist only because others put you in a pot and grew you. But what if we're all like that, huh? What if I exist only because people put me in a pot, aka a womb, and grew me? And then I just showed up here. I have the same amount of choice about being here that you did. And you don't even get to choose, I guess, what you do with your time here. But maybe I don't either. Maybe that's the great myth. Maybe that's it, that whole free will thing. You believe in it when you want to, I guess. I spoke to somebody here and they said, I thought he had it. At the time I hated his answer, but the more I think about it, the more I think it's a good one. My question was, how much free will do you think people have? And his was, they have as much as they want. And I really like that, I think, in retrospect. Like, if you choose to believe you have free will and exercise it, then for you, you have it. And if you choose to believe that you don't and everything is preordained and you're moving through life with no choice, then you have that. Which is a fine way to be. Both are fine ways to be. That's I think of all the Woody Allen movies I ever saw, the part that I liked the best from any of them was the concept of that Larry David one. I don't think it was a very good movie. But the whole concept, whatever works. If you can figure out a way to get through life without harming others, and you can find a way to survive it, whether it's some people have a drug or alcohol addiction, and some people have a God addiction, and some people have a community addiction, and some people have a loneliness addiction, and whatever it is, you just get to have it, and that's just fine. Whatever works to get through life. Life is a little mashugana. So I think that's the right way to approach others and not judge them. Although I certainly don't apply it to people in my life who've wronged me. Like, you can't fucking do that. That's my mental trip that I'll go off on that stuff. But I guess really, intellectually, I know that whatever works is a better way of being. Sorry, I got distracted looking at a bird. I may have been talking to a bird for those past few sentences and not to you. But I'm going to go ahead and count it as talking to you. Feels like a conversation. Whoop. I don't know what that day is, so I don't want to look at it yet. Put that there. If I put this here, that should hold it. That's a citronella candle. I have never, ever believed that a citronella candle works. I have no proof that they work. We grew citronella plants in Ohio. I have there's no reason for me to believe that that's a thing that works. Pecithin, pecithin, that's what they're using now. I think in addition to or instead of DEET. I don't think I'm going to be anywhere with much Lyme disease and ticks this summer. I mean, I'm sure I'll be in places with ticks in the woods in Wisconsin, but hopefully they won't be the Lyme disease carrying kind. I think those are mostly on the East Coast, although I hear they're spreading. Apparently, Hannah's dad, when they were in Westchester, and they had like tall grasses and were outside wherever there was yard and space, and it was just all ticks all the time, and you just stopped being able to use the outdoor space, which sucks. I guess DDT was how we solved that before, and I guess we don't use DDT anymore, but I don't know why, and I wonder if anybody's trying to come up with a new DDT. I wonder if it was just the branding, or if it was like deformed babies or something. That's probably what it was with most of those things. Is DDT Agent Orange? Why do those things exist in the same place in my brain? They both feel like they're like 1960s DuPont chemicals, but I don't know. Hi! You want me to throw the ball? Hi. You can, but I'm still talking to this plant for the next 11 minutes. Great idea. I want to see what it comes up with.
Okay.
We were just talking about magic. Morty's making a magic deck for camp. I have a bunch of magic cards that I have not organized. Although I think there's a website now where you can scan them and organize them. Rare Candy or something like that. I think, but I don't know if that works with magic cards or if it only works with Pokemon. I want to see. 10 minutes left, and I will have talked to you for an hour, which I will be honest, has been very nice. I really appreciate it. I showed Yubi Sister Act this week. 2 movies, Sister Act and Borat. And he enjoyed them both. Which is great. I love that. I love the idea of being able to share old movies that I love. Also, it's weird to think of Sister Act as such an old movie, but then you watch it and it clearly is, because there was this period where every comedy, first of all, the structure of the comedy was so much less from what you think of as like a Adam Sandler or Jim Carrey or Will Ferrell comedy, where it's like when you watch Beverly Hills Cop, there's like 3 funny scenes in the whole thing. It's a good movie and you're watching it because you enjoy Eddie Murphy, but it's not funny very often. And also, every one of those movies used to have a storyline about drug dealing or gangsters. My Blue Heaven, gangsters, gotta go on hiding, Steve Martin. Sister Act, gangsters, gotta go on hiding, Whoopi Goldberg. She's had a long career, man. She really has the fact that she's still doing it is just great for her. Love that. I guess Billy Crystal may have peaked higher, although when I read this, I read that when Sister Act 2 came out, Whoopi Goldberg became the highest paid actress in Hollywood, which is amazing to think about. She was also in Jumpin' Jack Flash. Every one of them. What's it? 3 Men and a Baby. They all have like plot at the beginning, drugs. Somewhere there's a drug dealer and you got to deal with it. Oh, am I going to make it to the end without going to the bathroom? This is going to be tight. The oatmeal was good. I may have to pause this. Now I'm getting distracted by the dog with the ball. Come here. I'll throw it for you. Betch. I set up my Apple Watch today so that it is connected to my workout app for the first time. I have a different workout app. Hi, good girl. And I hope I stick with that. I've been doing a good job. I did actually, speaking of medical stuff, I got an x-ray back from the doctor of my chest. Heart looks good so far. Heart, lungs, and whatever else they see, I guess, in the x-ray. I got to go back for the, EKG thing. Nothing's wrong with me, don't worry. It's just a man in his 40s has to do some shit. Blood test I got to take. Oh, I got it. That's what I got to do. I just have to go in there with no announcement, but I have to fast before I do it. So I can't eat anything. And then they take your blood. And then you get to reward yourself with some pastries, I think. They don't buy you the pastries, but I'm just saying personally, once you've got you eat healthy for the few days before, and then you get your blood, and then they won't, that the day right after your blood test is the longest before your next medical exam, so it's definitely the day when you can eat some donuts, and it won't show up negatively on your report or whatever, 5 minutes left. Do you want to meditate? Oh. I don't think it's a woodpecker, but it kind of sounds like one. I don't think there's woodpeckers here. Maybe I will get to see that in America. A pileated woodpecker. I did get to see a bald eagle a few times in Northwoods of Wisconsin, and that is spectacular. They are, let me rank my favorite birds. We already talked about flamingos, so you know they're up there. Penguins. Penguins are the best. Top 5 penguins. I've never seen an emperor penguin, so I can't put it up there. King penguin number 1, Gen 2 penguin number 2. I'll say chinstrap penguin number 3, fairy penguins number 4, although they're calling them little penguins now. Fairy penguins, little penguins. And then what's the ones with the whiskers? The cute ones with the whiskers. Oh, I can't remember. But they're my number 5. But are all of those penguins my top 5 birds? That's a different question. I would put, bald eagle is top 10. Because when you see them perched there, they're so huge, it's ridiculous. Oh no, the albatross. Ooh, they had such a pretty face. And they get this bad rap of this albatross around the neck. Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Still remember that from my Jeopardy training. I cannot remember who wrote it. Who wrote Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner? I want to say Wordsworth. I don't know. But an albatross I always thought would be this like, I imagine in my head an albatross would look like a shitty vulture and it would be like dangling on somebody. But really they have just these smooth, beautiful faces. I got to see these nesting albatross. I bet that's the plural of it, albatross. And then you see them soar and they have those big wide wings. I guess at this point it's ridiculous that we just used the word bird for all birds. Like a sparrow and an albatross and a puffin and a penguin, they are not the same thing. I don't even think you should call them the same family. Like, I think we get a little generic with our definitions. But then we get hyper-specific where you're like, these 2 sparrows are basically identical, and one's European and one's Asian, and you call them different sparrows. Well, that's crazy. They should all just be sparrows. What good does it do for us to divide them up into those small things? I guess probably the good that it did is that it helped give somebody named it. They were like, oh, it's got a different this. So now I get to name something, because there was that period in the 1700s when everybody wanted to name something. You will not have that period again in nature, will you? That was like what we did. We were really into it, just naming shit as human beings. And then you run out of things to name. And then you invent psychology, and then you start finding ways to name new things about human beings. And then you get a bazillion different names for all the variations of human. Which, again, not really serving us. Maybe we need bigger divisions. Bigger groups without distinction. But smaller groups. Because, like, yeah, what would I call the second group of birds? I guess they call them flightless. But it's crazy. Flightless birds. Because there's a lot of birds over there right now, actually. I think those are sparrows. Okay, the timer on the watch ended, which means I'm almost there. Hey, listen, I appreciate you. This has been a lovely time. Thank you for listening to me. I'm curious to see if this helps you grow. I hope that you enjoyed this half as much as I did. And, yeah, I hope the rest of your day is great. And, well, we'll see if there's a difference between how you grow and how the other plants of your ilk grow. Should be nice to see. And then I have to see what I do next. Oh, great. Tomorrow is hard work day. Bust ass day. So I will do that. See what that looks like. I mean, the really good news is I didn't pee my pants. So But I guess if I did, you wouldn't know because it's below the table anyway. But I didn't. Made it through the hour. So proud of that. Cool.